Welcome back to the class, everyone. It is Monday morning, but over the weekend, we got some news from CG that hasn't really made its way around because it didn't come on the official forums. And it's pretty important not only for your roster building, for your Krayt raid upgrades, but also for raids coming in the future. So before we get to the actual information, I do want to shout out Reality Skewed Gamers. They are some content creators that cover Galaxy of Heroes, and they quite frequently do charity streams for the American Cancer Society, and this is still going on. They're still raising money for the American Cancer Society. I'm going to leave the link in the description below if anyone would like to donate to that. It's a really great cause, and they did a lot of work on it over the weekend, playing games, answering people's questions, and just overall being a really great part of our community. The reason why we're talking about that right now is also because the information I mentioned earlier that came from CG, it actually came on the stream. Crumb himself, one of the community managers, actually came out to the stream out of his own good free will, off his office hours or whatever, and started answering some of the minor questions for Galaxy of Heroes. And one of the ones he answered was a discrepancy we've been worried about for months, and that is about this line here. So we know that we are getting a new raid at the end of the year towards fall, I guess probably somewhere around December. And one of the big issues or complications that comes with that is we currently have the Krayt raid as a featured raid right now in our game. And the reason why that matters is because they said that the MK3 currency that is currently coming only from the Krayt raid and the Krayt raid alone, because it is again a featured raid. You can see that here in the top right hand corner of the raid. It's the only place that the MK3 is going to be coming from, at least according to this post. Now again, I don't have footage of this. That would have been really nice actually, but on the charity stream that was going on, Crumb did clear up some discrepancies on this. This is referring to MK3. So the second that the new raid is launched and the Krayt raid is no longer the featured raid, but the featured moves to the new one, that is the only place that MK3 is going to be allowed. There is a lot of speculation about maybe some type of rotation, and or maybe featured was going, there were going to be multiple featured raids at the same time. That is not accurate. It is essentially all MK3 is going to be moved out of the Krayt raid, and it's going to be moved into the new MK or the new Endor raid. The reason why this matters is because it's going to essentially make any upgrade made from here on out, or really any upgrade made for the specifically for the Krayt raid, worthless. Because if we go in and we check the previous raid before that, Heroic Sith Raid's max rewards, if you're getting the best Krayt here, you're getting 4,000 of MK2 and about 8,000 of MK1. Well, if we go and check the Krayt raid, where it is right now, even if you're getting the very last box, which I don't think maybe one guild is right now, you're getting just about the same amount of rewards. I guess you're getting like 800 more MK2, so barely an upgrade, when this raid is much more hard to complete, not only with the amount of relics you need on your characters, but it is using specific teams. So this has a few consequences, and ones that we need to take heed of, because if we don't, we can start making some really big mistakes with our roster, because the only one that is going to be providing that MK3, it's going to be taken out of here and applied to the next raid. So now that we have confirmation of that has come from CG, we know what they're doing, this means some things. So the one thing we need to take a look into is return of investment is essentially completely down the drain now. A while ago, we showed this spreadsheet showing every single upgrade you can make to your teams and how long it will take you to get all those upgrades back, whether you're spending Electriums and Biddles or Impulse Detectors. It will take you, if you're going for this specific box here, it'll end up getting you 10 months later, you'll make all those resources back. If it's this box, you'll start making all that resources back 5. That's your kind of your break-even point for return of investment. This is all essentially gone now. If the raid is only lasting for 7 months total, which is where we're currently at. This raid came out in May, and it will be ending essentially in December when the Endor raid takes over. That means there's almost none of the investments that we made towards our characters and our teams are going to have a return on investment. They're all essentially going to be a loss, except for this. So that does pretty much bring me to our final piece of information here. So this is all the information. We know that MK2 or MK3 is leaving the Krayt raid. We know it's going to Endor. We know it's happening at the end of the year. We know the return of investment for all those things is not going to be very good. So what is the ultimate culmination of this? And I have that kind of listed out here. What does this mean? Raid only upgrades are bad. And there is an important distinction here, and actually it's kind of here. This doesn't mean that Jabba sucks, and why are these two things related? So if you were making a specific upgrade for the Krayt raid that also has an outside benefit, a perfect example of this is Jabba, where yes, is Jabba the best team in the Krayt raid? Yes, he is. Is he also unlocking a specific mod challenge where you can go in there and get a bunch of mod materials? He's also doing that. Does he have a bunch of specific rope missions where you can still go in and contribute and get points in there? Is he also the best 5v5 defensive team that we currently have right now? Yes. So while raid only upgrades are bad, if we are making now or before essentially any upgrade that has any outside value to us as players, it's still a win. Taking Maul up to R7, yes. Will that improve your raid scores? Did it improve your raid scores? Yes. Is it also going to help aid your Lord Vader team, assuming you have him, or your Mandalorian team in PvP? Also, yes. So there is a line here where we're not really supposed to feel bad. In fact, we might even feel good about some of those specific upgrades because they allowed us to double dip, not only start to get some of those resources back, but also get to use that specific character in another way. Tuskens are still really good in PvP as long as you're willing to sink in some Omicrons, or quite frankly, even if you're not, depending on where you're at. The other implications that this bring, raid-only upgrades will age poorly. So we've talked about the good upgrades like Jabba, Maul, Tuskens that have value outside of this. There are some upgrades that you can make not only for the Krayt raid, but also for the upcoming raids that are just not going to have any lasting value outside of the raid. So right now, I'm looking pretty clearly at Mission and Zalbar. Mission and Zalbar are currently letting the Old Republic team hit all the way up and actually hit the 2.7 million score, which is amazing, and it looked like it was going to age pretty well because you would eventually get those resources back. That's no longer true. And Mission and Zalbar are pretty useless anywhere outside the raid. So the return on that investment will never come, and you're never going to use them anywhere else. So essentially it's a net negative. And again, this isn't made to make people feel bad or anything like that. But the whole purpose of this is don't upgrade those characters now. And this goes over a lot of different characters. So Jawas, if you don't see any value with them in PvP or anywhere else, don't do them just for the raid. This raid's going to be gone in a couple months. You're not going to see the return on that investment due to how the math breaks down. Don't upgrade them. There is also a specific Hut Cartel split where you could take Cad Bane and Greedo and a bunch of other characters up to R8 to be able to get 2.7 million scores. That was great, but now, if you're taking specifically Greedo up to R8 to be able to unlock that, you are never going to see the return on that investment. You're going to end up with a net negative with that specific upgrade. So I really thought this was important to get out there because not only does it have bearing on our current raid and what you might be doing with your roster as of today, but this also sets an interesting precedent for the future. Because even if the Endor raid comes in, and I think it'll last a lot longer than 7 months. I kind of mean, and this is speculation on my part, but under the doesn't mean category we had, this will be the norm. I don't think this will be the norm. I don't think they're gonna swap raids every 7 months. Not only because that's difficult for us as players, but that's also really hard on the developers. The only reason why we're getting more raids now is because they went down to lower phases, because raids were really hard to make. One of the whole problems with Heroic Sith raid in the very beginning was the fact that we had essentially as a community solved it in a shorter amount of time than it took them to actually make it. So they can't just keep pumping these things out every 7 months. I think we're going to see a similar cadence around a year, specifically to match up with the Galactic Legends. And the reason why I think that is because both Jabba and Leia, they came after a time of Squad Arena, where originally most of our motivations to get the new Galactic Legend was specifically so that we could take first place in Squad Arena and get a bunch of crystals that way. Squad Arena's gone. It's been gone for years now. And Jabba came in, he immediately had a lot of value in a ton of different places, including TB and, you know, everything else we mentioned. And now they needed a new motivation for people to farm Leia that isn't necessarily purely PvP, and it's going to be the new raid. That whole long-winded rant goes to say that we're probably not getting another Galactic Legend for a year. That's been about the cadence, but between Lord Vader and Jabba and Leia will probably be another year, which means we probably won't get another raid for another year as well. So we're not going to be really looking at a 7th-month cadence. We're probably going to be looking something more like a year, maybe even 14 months, depending on how they want to stretch it out. But again, this does mean that raid only upgrades wage poorly. So when the new raid does come out in a few months, and maybe we'll get more information before then, but there's going to be a lot of pull to upgrade Ewoks. And I realize there's a ton of different teams out there right now. Imperial Troopers are very good. Giant Luke is very good. I'm sure Leia herself will be good outside of the raid. She's going to be a galactic legend. But Ewoks are one that we're going to really have to have our eye on. Am I ever going to see these resources come back? Because right now, they're not really shaking the boat in any other game mode. I faced one in TW with the Omicron and everything, and Bad Batch just ate it. And I don't think that's exactly a win for sinking relics into a team that you would otherwise, and on Omicron, that you would never sink them into because they don't really have much value outside of it. So that is going to be the video. Let your guild know that right now, again, if you want to keep upgrading great upgrades like Jabba or Maul or Tuskens or whatever it is, because you want them elsewhere, enjoy that, take advantage of it. Just don't look at something that you would only do for the raid and upgrade it right now, because the math for the return of investment is just not there. But that is going to be it for today. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, stay awesome.